Friends, I am Dr. Amdekar, and in this video I am going to discuss about the therapy to control pain. Friends, pain is so common and every patient expects a relief of pain. But before we discuss the therapy, let's quickly go through the physiology of pain so that we understand how to decide when to use a painkiller, if at all. We know that every tissue in the body has pain receptors, with an exception of a lung parenchyma or a brain cell or also the articular cartilage. But most of the cells have the pain receptors. So when there is a damage to the tissue due to inflammation of various types or even a smooth muscle contraction that irritates the tissue, or sometimes if the capsule of an organ stretches slowly, then also it can cause a damage that really leads to production of chemical signals, and these signals attended by the neural endings, because the neural endings are activated by these chemicals and the message passes through a spinothalamic tract right up to thalamus, and then from thalamus to the brain cortex for perception of pain. Friends, then you need to have a perception of pain, a pain felt by all these processes being intact, which generally they are. But when it comes to perception, really, we need to understand that it is based on attention, expectation, and then tolerance. If we take care of each factor, for example, an attention, unless you attend to the site of pain, you don't perceive the pain. For example, when you have a headache, you usually put a balm over the forehead and your attention is diverted from the reason of pain, which could be simply tiredness or exertion or even a tension headache. Then your attention is diverted to that balm, which causes a mild irritation over the forehead skin, and also there is a smell. So your mind is distracted and you don't feel much of a pain. You go to sleep and next morning you feel a balm has worked to relieve pain. This is because attention was diverted. Similarly, expectation. When you fall down, you expect a pain, you attend to the site of pain, and then you perceive pain. But however, tolerance ultimately decides how much severe or otherwise you feel the pain. And I think it's not that somebody who shouts and cries with pain has necessarily a severe pain, because if somebody with the equal seriousness of pain has a better tolerance, then he may not shout or complain of pain. And this is a challenge to the physicians, how to kind of decide the severity of pain, because pain is a subjective symptom and there are no objective parameters. Friends, but however, one could really look at very minutely on the history or the way the patient looks when he is complaining of severe pain, whether the pain can be easily diverted while talking, whether he attends his routine activities in spite of pain, then you know it's a mild or a moderate tolerable pain. And similarly, don't forget that nature has many modulatory responses to take care of this pain. For example, a guarding or rigidity over the abdomen suggests that the pain must be severe, that the nature has produced some modulatory response. And same is true for the muscle spasm of a back, where the spasm helps to relieve pain by giving controlled movements. And if you find also such measurable, subjective though, processes that nature has employed, then you can understand how severe the pain could be. And of course, to that you also add a tachycardia or tachypnea, and that can make a doctor understand how severe the pain is. Why is it so important? Because we, in this whole series of our videos, have been emphasizing on rationality of treatment. Friends, then for a mild or moderate pain, which is usually tolerable, one would first like to use a non-pharmacological measures. And one of the most important is distraction. For example, when I'm busy in my clinic with headache, I don't perceive the headache because I am busily concentrating on my work. And only when the work is over, I start feeling headache. So distraction is a good way of relieving pain. If it is mild or moderate, it often works. Similarly, there may be many other ways of taking care of mild or moderate pain, like a change in posture, for example, that would help pain. And then further, you can divert your attention from pain by various psychological issues like stress management, biofeedback mechanism, or even a simple massage, for example. Massage produces heat and is good for muscular pain, especially at the end of exertion. A person with hypermobility is relieved with pain merely by heat or massage. Similarly, the rest and application of ice, for example, for an acute pain, if you have an ice applied when you take out your tooth extraction, then you will find that the pain as well as swelling both are fairly controlled. Therefore, application of cold or heat, rest of course, and then even sometimes like a severe leg pain due to varicose veins, a mere elevation or compression may also help. And therefore, do use all non-pharmacological measures, especially for a mild or moderate pain, because a painkiller, friends, does not kill pain. It only makes the pain tolerable, and if it's already tolerable by nature, by the nature of a person as well, then you don't need to use a drug therapy for such a pain. And this is important. And I think when the pain is severe enough, when such simple home remedies, for example, do not work, then you need to certainly use the drug. And the most common cause of pain is inflammation, and therefore you use anti-inflammatory drugs like NSAID said. And even paracetamol works reasonably well. Of course, one can use also ibuprofen or naproxen, but rarely when the inflammatory pain is very severe, even an opioid drug like tramadol, for example, can be used, but with caution. And even a codeine is a very strong, potent analgesic, but one should avoid using it for varieties of reasons, including a severe toxicity, and you have a better drugs which are safe enough. Having said how to get rid of anti-inflammatory pain, the neurogenic pain is a big challenge and not easy to control. For example, a pain of herpes zoster could be so severe, but you must first try the NSAIDs as well, but beyond that, you may need an anticonvulsant like a gabapentin or even an antidepressant like an amitriptyline. And I think these are the extra drug therapies reserved for a very specific, severe, painful conditions, maybe inflammatory or a neurogenic. Having said that, there could be a psychogenic pain as well, and psychogenic pain is easy to understand because the pain comes at the very convenient time for a given patient. It does not come in the way of routine activities, it does not disturb sleep, and that is important that you realize that there is no need of painkiller and one could use a placebo as well. And placebo often works not only psychologically but even physiologically because the perception is quite depressed and therefore you don't feel much of perception, and that's why a psychological pain. Finally, even a smooth muscle contraction spasm like an intestinal colic, one may need to use some antispasmodics like dicyclomine or hyoscyamine. So friend, these are the drugs that you use, but not necessarily because patient complains of pain, but you try to assess severity of pain the way I discussed, and try to first implement a lot of simple measures, home remedies, distraction, and so on and so forth. For psychogenic pain, even meditation and making your mind strong would help. And as you know that pain is inevitable in life, but suffering is optional. And therefore, let's keep the suffering in mind to control, not just the pain. I hope I have given the right message, and please continue to be with our videos. Thank you very much.